Okay, this is a trend going on. Quiet quitting. Burned out employees, this is what they're doing with their jobs. Take a listen. So, with the pandemic blurring the lines of work and home, folks are using this trend of quiet quitting to stay within the boundary of this is what I get paid to do, and I'm not going to stress about anything else. And data shows the trend is most popular among people who are just starting their career or are in their early 20s. The risk of following this trend is that they are most likely to be laid off in a down economy.
You've heard of quiet quitting? Well, according to this Business Insider article, companies are fighting back with quiet firing. Essentially, employers are too cheap to pay for severance packages when they lay off their staff. So their plan is to essentially make working for them so unpleasant that their employees will quit. They're doing things like forcing remote and hybrid employees back to the office 5 days a week. They're cutting out incentives and benefits. The thing they're doing that is making me the most angry is this. Employers are raising expectations of their staff to unreasonable levels and then giving more negative feedback so people just feel like they're bad at their job. They're also cutting out salary increases, career advancement opportunities. Apparently, some managers are just starting to exclude their staff from meetings and assignments, giving them the silent treatment like this is high school or something. The worst part about this is that it's working. If you're an employer, please stop doing this. It is so unethical. And if this is happening to you, I'm so sorry. You deserve better. Check out my other videos to help you get a great new job.
I want to talk a little bit about this quiet quitting trend. It's all over the news, social media, everybody's talking about it. Now, for those who don't know, quiet quitting means like going to work, doing the bare minimum, but not actually quitting your job and doing nothing more than what's required of you. Now, the most efficient way to subdue a society is to make them believe that they're in control. Make you believe you're the one that came up with the ideas and structures that's keeping control in society. To make you believe that you're doing something that's revolutionary. Think about this quiet quitting from a corporation's perspective. Now, a lot of you have heard about the 80-20 principle. That means that 20% of the people do 80% of the work in most companies, right? So most people are not doing anything more than the bare minimum already. And one thing you may not know is that the cost of replacing an employee who already quit and left the job is sometimes 1 to 2 times the salary of the person who just quit. Because you have to retrain them, reteach them, and you have to integrate them into teams and find out where they fit in. An employee doing the bare minimum is actually benefiting the company more than just quitting and leaving the job. One of the best situations for a company is for you to be sitting at your desk, semi-productive, quiet, and unengaged, because then you are like a robot. I wouldn't be surprised if this whole quiet quitting trend is just another way to keep control over the workforce.
So let's talk about quiet quitting for a moment and why corporate interpretation of this is really, really toxic. So a little bit of a backstory, I'm a corporate recruiter and I hire from entry-level positions all the way up to head of people, head of marketing, etc. When the corporate industry, especially higher management, interprets quiet quitting as giving up on going above and beyond, that's a red flag. I've seen the debate on LinkedIn and it baffles me that they're straight up mad that we're leaving the hustle culture and we're not giving up everything for the pursuit of ambition. And the phrase bare minimum keeps popping up. It becomes such a pain point that it becomes very evident that you really hire people and expect them to work above and beyond. Once you don't have that and once you can't leverage on that, then becomes a big problem for you. And the gaslighting is insane. On one hand, they acknowledge that quiet quitting is a defense mechanism against toxic work environments. On the same breath, they have the audacity to say that instead of doing what you're doing, you should just quit and find another job. Instead of acknowledging that quiet quitting is a way for your employees to say that these are their boundaries, or to take that as a sign that you're not doing enough for employee engagement, that you're not motivating them to work at your company. CNN got it right on the nose when a lot of companies are expecting you to work long hours, you're understaffed and you're burnt out, and that's okay. And from my experience, I can tell you one thing. There's plenty of young people, Gen Zs, millennials who are hungry for a really good career. They're able and really willing to go above and beyond. I've seen it. But the key thing is that they have to have passion. They must believe in the cause. corporate world seriously has to step up. This old game of pitting generations against each other, this is not going to work anymore. They know better now. Understand and accept that the working culture has changed. And if you're not going to adapt, then you're not going to survive.
Have a seat, Veronica. Okay, did you tell everyone in the office about quiet quitting?
I did, yeah. I did do that, yeah.
Okay, do you know what that means?
Yeah, it means that you just come to work, you do your job, and then you go home. You should try it sometime.
Okay, well, this is creating an unhealthy mindset for our employees, and
But don't you think that telling your employees to go above and beyond for a company that pays them a salary that they can barely live off of, don't you think that's unhealthy?
Veronica, please stop. You need to stop.
Deborah, come here.
What's up?
Did you get any bonuses or a promotion for going above and beyond?
I have not. I'm still waiting patiently.
Oh, the poor thing. She's been going above and beyond for years and has nothing to show for it. So why would I?
Okay, well, if you keep talking about this with other employees, we're gonna have to take corrective action.
Corrective action for what, Susan? You're so silly. I come here, I do my job, I do a good job, and then I go home and I pay my bills. Anyways, if you want to pay me more, then maybe I'll go above and beyond for that. Okay. All right. Thank you, Susan. Bye. Bye.
And we will leave you with this. Remember that trend called quiet quitting? Showing up for work, but only putting in the bare minimum? Well, perhaps no surprise, but not everyone is quiet about their frustrations at work. In fact, according to a new Gallup survey, nearly a fifth of workers are loud quitting. In Gallup's report, it's not actually about crumpling up an angry resignation letter and throwing it at your employer and walking out. They describe loud quitting as clocking in, but being actively disengaged, taking actions to directly harm their organization or opposing leadership. But by the time someone is a loud quitter, they may be a bit of a lost cause. In fact, Gallup calls the quiet quitters low-hanging fruit, employees that still have a shot at being inspired or motivated to be more productive. Managers have their work cut out for them, though. Nearly 60% of workers globally said they are quiet quitting. That leaves just less than a quarter who are actively engaged. And the lack of engagement out there doesn't just make people miserable. Gallup says it costs the global economy. It estimates that low engagement costs $8.8 trillion US and accounts for 9% of global GDP.
So what is quiet quitting? Well, for a lot of people, it's another way of saying they have healthy boundaries. It means doing what you're paid to do and not sacrificing your well-being in order to do more. It might look like rejecting volunteer type work, like serving on a committee within your company. Or for somebody else, it might mean rejecting doing the job of 2 or 3 people. A third sign is refusing to work excess hours without a change in compensation. 4, quiet quitting can also look like closing your computer or physically distancing yourself from your work when your shift is over, working within the confines of your day and not more. And last, a sign of quiet quitting is that people have unsubscribed from this long-term promise that they might get promoted if they give 1,000%. People want growth opportunities here and now. They won't toil for some mirage or illusion that they're not even sure is going to come to fruition.
This phenomenon of quiet quitting was accompanied by, or was it caused by, the drop in employee engagement, which began in the second half of 2021 and was concurrent with the rise in job resignations. Managers, among others, experienced the greatest drop. The overall decline was especially related to clarity of expectations, opportunities to learn and grow, feeling cared about, and a connection to the organization's mission or purpose, signaling a growing disconnect between employees and their employers. Aligning your work with your personal standards can lead to a sense of purpose. It can also contribute to job satisfaction, which can lead to a more positive work experience, even in challenging environments, which you might be going through now.
If you're not familiar with the trending term quiet quitting, this is what it means. Quiet quitting are people who are not going above and beyond and are only doing the bare minimum. This is because they feel burned out and they want to take a step back and focus on their personal life. Although quiet quitting can work in the short term, if you do this at your company for a lengthy period of time, you will be the first to get laid off.
Quiet quitting. I know this is something that we've all done at some point or another, where you are putting in all the time, all the effort at work, spending more time at work than you spend at home. And then something happens that causes you to mentally check out and either start looking for another job, or you just simply do the bare minimum and then you go home, which is typically called quiet quitting. What is the straw that broke the camel's back in your case that made you quietly quit?
I quietly quit my last job and I acted my wage, but why? Well, in today's video, I'm going to deep dive all the reasons I was actively, quietly quitting my job for years, in fact, until I was able to leave to go full-time into my business. And I'm going to explain the reasons why I do endorse it. I do think it's a good thing because there is so much wrong with the corporate world, with the 9-to-5 that still hasn't been sorted, to which I'm going to highlight in this video. And I hope it wakes you up, because that's the purpose. I want you to think slightly different and actually take a step back and think, are you giving too much of yourself? And the people around you, like your children and your partner, are they missing out because you're giving too much away in the workplace? Well, I hope in this video it really does get you thinking. Now, what is quiet quitting? Well, essentially it's mentally checking out from the job. It's doing all the tick box exercises, fulfilling the contracted role, but not going above and beyond. And that's actually fine, by the way. Like my video, last one in, first one out. It's fine. You're doing the job and you're going home. But we know many employers don't like that. They want you to fit in with the culture of going above and beyond without being paid for it, I might add, which is nuts. And that's not the way you should be doing it. Now, is it good or bad? Well, if you look online, you've got two sides of the coin. There's people saying, oh, it's lazy, you shouldn't be like that. If you're going into a job, then you should be putting in maximum effort. Now, maybe we've believed that, or our parents did for years and years, right? Decades, in fact. But really, look what happened. Anxiety, depression, loss of hair, stress, missing out on memories, making memories with children, and being snappy at your partner was a result of you giving 100% to a company that just makes you redundant, gets rid of you, right? There's so much backwards with giving all of yourself to a company that isn't even yours. And I do have a problem with that, right? So why are we seeing this huge movement of quiet quitting just all over the internet and actually taking place within the workplace? And I am one of those individuals that did do that. I had a bigger picture. I wanted to design my life, as many of you know. I didn't want to be in employment. I wasn't comfortable asking someone for holiday. I wanted to be able to go on holiday at any given moment, and I wanted control of that. So I had to go through a process of quietly quitting until I was able to leave. So that was my process. But people are getting fed up of being gaslit. Being told that there's more on the horizon for them, that there's pay rises on the way, and that they're going to have a really bright career, and it never comes to life, never happens. Right? They're just led up the garden path. Happens all the time. Pressured to do more when it's not in their contracted role. Someone leaves or they get managed out of a company and you're left to pick up the slack. No one's paying you any extra, but they expect you to do it. And people are getting fed up and they're going, hang on a minute, why am I doing all this extra work? I'm not valued, I'm not respected, I'm not being paid more for it, but now there's this expectation because I covered someone for a week, or I covered that particular job role because they've now left or they were fired. No one said a word to me and I'm still doing all their job roles. And now I've made a rod for my own back. And people are putting their foot down going, actually, this doesn't sit well with me. But why did I quietly quit? And I think a lot of these reasons are going to resonate with you, right? I've written down 10. I've got plenty more, but I'm going to hit 10 here. Now, I've seen firsthand or experienced the reasons that I'm going to go through now, right? And luckily for me, this happened in my 20s. So I had my light bulb moment in my early 20s when my son came into my life. And although I've always been very entrepreneurial and I've been very outspoken and I kind of always wanted to do my own thing, it just became very apparent early on to me in my early 20s that I wasn't okay with this. And I was in a very busy company that I could just see they have no respect for people. Like, we are numbers. We are just bodies in a cog, you know, in a system, and at any given moment we could be made redundant or got rid of. I just became very aware of that. Some of you and people who reach out to me are in your 30s and 40s, and now you're having your wake up moment and you're like, oh my God, what, you know, where's my life gone? Well, it's never too late, by the way, to change your life or to get another job or to start a business. So number one, for me, I respected myself too much from an early age to give all of my energy to someone else. And I think this came from having my son just as I was turning 20. So I had this beautiful light bulb moment of, oh my God, the world isn't just about me, and it's certainly not about a company that doesn't respect or value me. It's about him. And I really wanted to spend as much time with him and see him grow up. And so I needed to make moves. I needed to start building something for myself. And it takes energy and time. And my God, building a business is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, or trying to escape the 9 to 5, you know, the slavery wage, right? It's hard. So I needed to conserve my energy, and I wasn't prepared in my early 20s to give all of my time and energy as I saw some co-workers doing. Coming in early, leaving late, looking at me like I was the odd one out. People were looking at me and saying to me, oh, you're not staying? No, I'm going home to my family. Like, the people I want to be with. The only I wanted to say to them, I did say to some of them, the only reason I'm here is because I have bills to pay. I'm not here because I want to do extra work with you and stay here when everything's closing up and not be paid for it. Come on. So that was the thing. I respected myself too much. And I was just aware I was a number. I think that played on me. I just knew that I was replaceable. Some of you are still in denial about it. I know many people who go against my content and say, oh, you know, don't listen to him. I think they're in denial. You're still a number. It doesn't matter how many promotions you've had. If the company is not performing financially, guess what? They're making cuts. I mean, what was it, Meta, that got rid of like 10,000 jobs? Just gone, okay? Number two, hard workers are used and abused. And Joe, my editor, if you can just pop up the thumbnail of my last video, which just went viral, it just absolutely popped. Hard workers are used and abused. You should check out that video. I'll put it towards the end of this one. It's totally true. The horse that is willing to carry the heaviest load will always get the heaviest load. And believe me, I was not the guy willing to carry the heaviest load. For my own company and building my own thing and for my own family, for sure, give it to me. But for someone else's, no, I'm not prepared to do the biggest workload, take on all the projects. I've seen it too many times. I was sitting in meetings where they're discussing everything that's changing about the company, and you'd have some manager sitting there at the top talking about all the numbers and the forecasting and what's happening next year, and, you know, talking about it like it's their company. And I used to find it embarrassing, to be honest with you. And I just, you know, people were fake laughing and, oh yeah, you know. And then when they'd be like, oh, there's a new project coming up, who wants it? I used to look around the room and people would put their hand up for the project, and I'm looking at them thinking, you numpty, you are bent over a barrel and you have not got a clue about it, and you're going to be taking on all this extra work. You're not going to get paid for it, and the likelihood is I can still do minimal, just do my job role, and I'm more likely to get a promotion than you as long as I go and I brown nose the right manager at the right time. And here you are taking on all these projects, and it looks stupid and it's embarrassing, right? And that is just a classic case of being used and abused. The hardest worker never gets off the shop floor because they know that they can fall on that person, they can lean on them, and they can give them everything, and it'll all get done. Okay, you can go check out that previous video. It'll explain it very clearly. Steve and Anna, I bet you've got one in your workplace. Mental health effects. So this is point number 3. Burnout. This is so real. I cannot tell you how many people in my last job that were literally on antidepressants, had anxiety, panic attacks, loss of hair, putting on weight. They weren't looking after themselves. They're coming in talking about all the arguments they're having at home, snapping at their children. Oh, the kids are a nightmare. And actually, on reflection, really, let's break it down. You're giving too much to the company, you're too financially dependent on this company, you're in survival mode, you're reactive, you're not proactive, and you've got so deep within the company now, you can't back away from it, and your mental health is now taking its toll. And as a result, the people that you love the most and that you originally got this job for are now suffering. And I hope this hits home for some of you. Think about it. Are you happy to give 100% energy and time and effort to a company that will not be there for you, But if you're ever diagnosed with a health problem, who are going to be there for you? Your family. I mean, what are you doing all of this for anyway? Again, I think I was just aware of this at such an early age. Like, we go to work to make money because we want to make enough money to then enjoy life with our partners and our children. Is that not what life is about? There's 8 billion people in the world. There's hundreds of countries to explore and travel around. Why am I going to give everything to a company that could literally be like, oh, we're done with you now, goodbye? And you can deny it all you want. There might be some of you that'll be like, oh no, my company would never do that to me. Well, you're living in cuckoo land. That they get rid of all of you. Any moment they want to. They don't need a reason. Like, there are ways and tactics and devilish things that they can do to get rid of you. Believe that. Now, number 4, just not being present at home. Being in a place where you are so mentally drained, you're not present. When I say that, when you go home, are you having good conversation? Are you being the person that you should be? Are you being a good dad? Are you being a good husband or a wife or a mother? Are you really making memories? Are you taking it all in? Or are you consumed and still worried about your job? Are you still thinking about it? Is it playing on your mind? If so, you're not present. And being in the moment is so important, because the most precious thing that we have is time. It's the most important asset for all of us, is what are we doing with our time? And if you're not valuing it, I can promise you now the company doesn't value your time. They want maximum productivity and they want every ounce of you. They want every bit of energy, which equals you not being present. It was really important for me is that, you know, as you watch children grow up, you really need to like take, you know, note of everything that's happening. You really want to remember it, because at any given moment, if you had a health scare, are you going to look back at your life and think, I was there in the moment, you know, I was really there when they needed me most? Or did you spend all your time giving it to the company? So food for thought on that one, right? Quite a deep message, but it's important for me to share that. Number 5, if the company does start to financially suffer, or they go through a company restructure, or they adopt a lot of AI systems and they don't need all their employees and all their staff members, believe me, they will reduce the amount of people that they need and your job role, cut, gone, vamoose. That's the reality. And so many companies now, I'm including myself in this, we are building companies and businesses where you practically don't need any employees, just freelance team members who are remote. Because I have so many people say to me, oh, you talk about last one in, first one out. What about your employees? Well, firstly, I'd never call them employees, number 1. And secondly, I do have people that work with me, keyword, but they're all remote. Like, they're all in different countries. They do it on their own time. They work on a laptop and a phone. They have balance. And really, I'm trying to minimize the amount of people that do work with me, because I'm trying to get to a point where my life is so sustainable and cash flow so high, and, you know, profit margins are so high. I mean, I'm in a high profit margin type of business setup anyway, but I don't really want to be working with anyone now, because we're in a world where you can build businesses and you don't really have to have any employees. So people who keep pointing the finger saying, oh, well, do you want your employees to quietly quit? I want to get to the point where I have no employees. That is the way business is going, where you build a business, you automate it and systemize it, and you make maximum profits, and it's only you in the business. That's like ideal scenario. I don't want loads of overheads and employees. Now, number 6, pressurizing you to grow and move within the company and take step-up roles and take on other tasks that aren't within your contracted role, but you're not getting paid for it. I've seen it too many times in my last job. Who wants the step-up role? You're going to get a chance to take on more responsibility and really show what you can do. And I'd look around, again, it'd be in meetings, and you'd see all these naive youngsters like putting up their hands, or, you know, they haven't been burnt before, or they're not wise enough and mature enough, they haven't been in the corporate game long enough, or people who are desperate to brown nose, they're putting their hands up, and I'd be thinking, you have no idea, you are signing up to be a dog's body for the next 6 to 12 months, and it is so unlikely you're going to get any promotion. And they might be paid nothing, or they might have an increase. Some of our step-up roles in my last job, they'd pay you like 15 to 20p an hour extra, and I'm just like, oh my God. Even people that take overtime and do shift swaps and all this lot. And I was just like, have you not got more going on at home? Like, are you in such a bad financial position that you need the promotion and the overtime? Like, I just don't get it. I mean, sometimes I think, Aaron, am I the odd one out? Like, am I the odd one out? But then I think, well, no, I never came from a family of money. I've never had anything given to me. I was just aware that I want to build something so greater for myself. Like I want to build my own foundations. I don't want to commit and spend more time, time and a half or, double pay. I just thought my time's worth more than that. I'm worth more than 25 quid an hour, 30 quid an hour. Maybe some of this doesn't resonate with you and you're like, well, Aaron, I'll jump over overtime anytime they give it to me. Well, that just wasn't me. I wasn't bothered about an extra couple of quid that's going to get taxed anyway, and spending hours upon hours with people that I didn't really care about, and they didn't really care about me. I'd rather be at home with my family. It's like guys when they used to turn around and come into work and say, "Oh, can't wait to get away from the missus and the kids." I used to think, well, why have a missus and have kids? And there'll be some older guys or, guys who turn around to that comment and say, "Oh, yeah, whatever." Well, it's serious. Why have kids or have a partner if you want to get away from them? I just don't get it. Number 7, PIPs, performance improvement plans. You can be put on one of these at any point. You could be the highest performing worker, and if a new manager comes in or something changes or you're a key person of sort of influence, within your job role and you have sway over people and you're quite a loud person or you have a backbone and people don't like it, they can just put you on a PIP. They'll be like, well, we haven't really got any dirt on him or her, just put them on a PIP. 6-7 weeks, we'll say that they didn't pass it and then we'll get them out. You can't do anything about it. They tried to put me on a PIP. My old manager, little thing that she was just annoying and quite irritating, and we just didn't see eye to eye, and she was this just irritating graduate manager. And she tried to put me on one. It didn't go down very well, and all of her reasoning never added up. And I just accounted all of it. I went back at her and never got put on a PIP. But she wanted to go down that route, and she tried to get HR involved with things that were just not needed and just silly little things. And she was screen capping conversations that we were having on this, chat system, just trying to get me out. She failed, but she was trying because we just didn't see eye to eye. Had that have been someone who was mentally weaker than me, they'd have given up and would have fed into the PIP and would have been put through the system and off you go. So that can happen at any point. I wasn't comfortable with that. Number 8, alter egos and loss of identity, pretending to be a character, fake laughing, pretending to care about the company numbers. I just couldn't fake it. Some people in meetings or these huddles, when managers who are obsessed with the company are announcing numbers and metrics, other people around me could fake it and be like, "Oh no, we didn't hit metrics. Oh no, we didn't hit the numbers. Oh, company profits are down. Oh no, I'm not going to sleep tonight." I used to be like, "God, you're so cringe." Like, I don't care. I don't care if the company numbers are down, as long as I'm getting paid at the end of the week. I don't care. It's not my company. I'm building my own thing. No one here values me. No one here respects me. No one here respects you or you or you or you. Even the manager talking who sounds like they're obsessed with the company, no one cares about them. Truly. Like when push comes to shove, all of you are gone anyway. And why are you all here fake laughing? He didn't even, he or she didn't even say something funny. And you got people laughing. I am not like that as a person. I can't pretend to be someone I'm not. But all of these people that are willing and prepared to do it, they end up having like health problems because they go home and they've got this alter ego. They don't even know who they are. Number 9, knowing they can literally get rid of you at any moment annoyed me. Just seeing it time and time again, I'd come in and I'd be like, "Oh, where's so-and-so? Oh, they got rid of him last night." What? Yeah. Apparently they're on a performance review. Were they? I didn't know that. Yeah. Now they're gone. Oh, they were quite a good worker. They were a good person. They had a family. Yeah, they just got rid of them. Well, that's probably because they had a backbone like me. Interesting. And it was unfair, and it's very political, and it's like a poker game. It's very strategic in how they get rid of people. That never sat well with me, and I was like, yeah, I can't let someone have control over my financial future for me and my family. I need to take some ownership and responsibility here. Can't let this fall in someone else's hands. And then number 10, me personally, I wanted more from life. I truly did. I know too many angry and bitter people who I used to work with in the old job. Even people who I used to work with, they still, lurk in the shadows and they watch my content. And I know there's a lot of people that hate on me that I was able to escape in my 20s and I haven't had to go back to a job and I run my full-time businesses. Yes, it's hard and, it never ends and there's challenges, there's ups and downs, but ultimately I'm living the life that I truly wanted. Like, I've gone for it. Taking no risks is the biggest risk of all, and there are many haters out there, but The most important thing is that I haven't become that bitter, regretful, angry person who looks back at my life and thinks, God, why didn't you go for it? Why did you just be such a sub, such a sheep your entire life? You had everything at your fingertips, Aaron. You had all the resources, all the knowledge, all the opportunities in the world. You had the blessing to make more money than you would know what to do with, and you didn't jump at any of it. You were a little bit coward-like, and you just did your job like a good boy. I'd be irritated at myself. I'm not saying that's what you are if you choose to remain in a job, but I feel like that personally. I feel like I would be cowardly if I didn't give it a go, because I'm aware that I can change my entire life. I was aware that I could build a business. I'm aware that we don't live in the 80s and 90s anymore. I don't need to approve a big 60 grand bank loan to start a business. I'm aware that I could start a business with zero capital up front. So I just knew I had to make moves, and I had big reasons why. You know, I wanted to provide a better life for me and my family. Now, horrific stat incoming. This was done by Gallup's. This is the whole point I'm making. Gallup's did a survey last year in 2024 on people that hate their jobs and are dissatisfied and suffering with different mental health issues. And it was 77% of global working adults that hate their jobs. That's 2.62 billion people globally on a survey done by Gallup's do not like their jobs for all different reasons. They want out, but they don't. Low self-esteem now, lack of confidence, just a shadow of a person, loss of identity, suppressed, no energy, burnt out. It's never too late, but you need to take action. I also want to do my part in trying to inspire you and guide you on how this could be a real thing for you, because escaping the 9 to 5, it sounds gimmicky, like we all hear it online, I say it, but it's kind of, that's how you say it, right? Getting out of a job and building something for yourself. Well, Joe, if you can pop it above my face, I have a full course tutorial on how to quit your job and build an online business, a legitimate business which is sustainable and generates you cash flow to the point where you could replace your salary. Get back 180 hours to spend on you and your family, and that will be available to watch again at the end of this video, along with workers who are used and abused. I am rooting for every single one of you. Let me know in the comments if this resonated. Are you quiet quitting? If so, why? But more so, what's the plan? What are you moving on to? What's the plan if you leave? Go on to build your own thing. That's what I'm an advocate for, is taking control of your life, designing it opposed to being assigned one. I'm wishing you all the best. If you haven't subscribed and you'd like to do so, amazing. And if you did like this video, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to. Until next time, I am rooting for every single one of you, and I'll see you all soon. Peace. Start quietly quitting, say no to promotions, walk slow, never work hard, but always work smart. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are talking about quiet quitting and how you can use this method in order to begin the process of escaping your job to try and build your own business so that you can have more purpose and fulfillment in life, and that you actually design your life and take full control rather than giving away the control to an employer and having your life totally assigned for you. So again, I have to say, this video and quiet quitting and walking slow, do not go for promotions. Work smart, not hard. This video is only for people who want more from life and want to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. If you're happy to climb the corporate ladder, this video isn't for you. Okay, so what is quiet quitting if you don't already know? Well, essentially, it is mentally checking out of your job, still doing the tasks necessary within your job, but you are going under the radar and no one knows that you've mentally checked out because you're still fulfilling the role, but you are planning to eventually escape, or you're planning to shift or go to another job, but no one really knows about it. That's what it should be. It's that self-mastery of ticking all the boxes within your day-to-day job and fulfilling the role, but yet you have mentally checked out, knowing that there is bigger and better on the horizon and you shouldn't be telling any of your co-workers. That's essentially what it is. It's essentially what I did when I was planning for years to get out of my job and I was building a business on the side. Now, everyone has, let me remind you, two options as an adult. You can design your life or you will be assigned one. You can make your own plan or you will be given a plan. You can position yourself in a market, or society will position you within a market that they give you. Okay, so those are the two choices we all have. I decided I was going to go through the process of quietly quitting in order to eventually escape my job, and I was willing to do everything in between in order to fulfill that and be successful to the day where I was able to hand in my resignation and say goodbye, ta-ta, I'm off, and I fired my boss. And I'd love it if you would be able to do that too. if you want to run a business or a lifestyle type of business. But how do you escape whilst applying quiet quitting? Well, number one, as I said, you do not tell anyone. If you are going to start quiet quitting in your workplace, no one can know. You can't be screaming from the rooftops that, hey, I'm checking out, I'm looking for other jobs, because other people will jeopardize your chances of staying very low key, under the radar, to eventually escape the day that you do, or the day that you've built something to replace your income. So stay hush. Number two, self-mastery. You have to be able to build a business outside of work, go through all the excitement, the dopamine hit, the new network that you might be building, all of this kind of excitement around the thought of actually getting out. You have to keep it on the quiet. You have to apply that self-mastery and not let anyone know that there are any changes going on, and just still show up, do your thing, be polite and go home. Really apply self-mastery. I had it down to a T. No one knew a thing that I was building this business and I had a social media platforms going on and all this kind of marketing that I was doing. No one knew because I had good self-mastery. Well, no one knew until definitely like the last 2 weeks of me leaving my job. Now, number three, block people on social media. In the workplace, you should not have people on social media requesting to be your friends and knowing what you get up to outside of work. There needs to be boundaries. I mean, regardless of whether you're quiet quitting or you're trying to escape your job or whatever's going on in the workplace with you or whatever, no one should be adding you on social media, in my personal opinion. I just don't think it's a good thing to do. I think there should be boundaries. I don't think those boundaries should be crossed. But more so, if you are trying to escape your job and you're trying to build a business, you need your social media for promotional work and marketing work. So therefore, they cannot see, especially nowadays, they cannot see you promoting a business that you're building. Because a lot of companies now ask you to declare, which is nuts, by the way, if you're building a business. I mean, how mental is that? In your own time, at the weekends and on your days off, they don't like you building a business. It's nuts, but that's the truth. Now, number four, do not go for promotions. The reason being is, some people say, well, it's a good way to get paid more money. Yes, in theory, but really, and the reality of it is, the puppet strings become shorter, the job role becomes more pressured because you'll have people snapping at your heels for that job role because there are now limited job roles of the ones that you've gone for, and you are deeper within the system and they require you to show more loyalty. Now, if you are trying to someone who's trying to pivot and actually get out the 9 to 5, you can't be showing loyalty to a company that considers you as a number. Regardless of how long you've been there, regardless of the years that you've put in, graft, blood, sweat and tears and the promotions that you've had, you are still an expense on a filing sheet. That's the truth. Until you build your own baby, your own business. So that's number four. Do not accept promotions. Learn to live frugally, live on less, invest the rest and build a business. Number five, always work smart, never hard. I was never the yes man. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll take that project on. Yeah, no worries, I'll do that. You get used and abused. As soon as you find out the workhorse who is willing to carry the heaviest load will always get the heaviest load. It's not seen upon, oh, they're the best worker and they'll be the ones for the promotion. No, they want to keep them as the yes man and yes women because they're willing to do all odds and sods, all the bodge jobs. You know, oh, toilets are blocked. Yeah, I'll do it, no worries. And then they're gaslighted and they think they're gonna get a promotion and really they're just kept there to be the yes man because let's face it, we all need a handyman or a handy woman that just does everything, right? Don't be that person. Work smart, never hard. Number six, do not accept overtime unless you are in such a dire financial situation, and you're in huge amounts of debt. Do not accept it because your time per hour is always going to be worth more than 12, 13, 14 pound an hour. It is. You might not be getting paid for the brand new business that you're building on your weekends and on your days off and in your breaks, but eventually the market will value your time so much more and you need to think and start as you mean to go on. So you might be on 12 to 15 pound an hour and you're being offered 17 and a half or 18 pound. Your time is worth more. Your time is worth more than 18, 19, 20 pound an hour. So value it. Time you never get back. Treat it as a commodity that is incredibly precious, like gold. Once it's gone, it's rare, you never get it back. Okay, so do not do overtime if you are trying to escape your 9 to 5. Number seven, if you're trying to escape your 9 to 5 and get out of the workplace, work on yourself. Learn new skill sets, develop, improve your social circles, advance yourself, learn how to market, learn how to do sales. Keep very hush-hush in the workplace and keep working on yourself. Self-educate, listen to Audible books on the way to work. On your breaks, don't go to the fag shelter, listen to a podcast. Book a ticket to go to a seminar or an exhibition where you're going to learn about, digital branding and e-commerce or whatever it might be. Keep working on yourself. Always evolve. Again, formal education, going into the system will earn you a living. You'll get a job. But if you self-educate, you can earn a fortune and you can build a business, and it's never ever been more accessible and easier to get into business with the abundance of free resources that we have at our fingertips. The fact that you can build a multi-million pound business from a freaking phone is bonkers. So work on yourself whilst working a full-time job, whilst looking after the family. Put in the time. There is always time. Number 8, look after your finances. Again, if you're trying to escape the 9 to 5, you need to be financially empowered so that your chest is proud, you have money in the bank, so you don't get bent over a barrel in the workplace. Start building up the rainy day funds, the maintenance funds, the floating funds, the cash reserves. Start getting your priorities in order when it comes to your finances, because there is truth in, if you cannot look after your one income from your job, you will never escape that job, and you will never run a business through profit and loss and all kinds of expenses. Look after your money, make some sacrifices, have some discipline. Even to do the quiet quitting in your workplace where you've mentally checked out and now you're deciding that you're going to work on yourself and build a business and you're going to keep it hush-hush, that requires discipline and sacrifices. Do things that the average person is not willing to do. Work the weekends. Write off for the first 2-3 years that bank holidays exist. They don't when building a business and trying to escape a job and living a life with a young family and bills to pay. There aren't things such as the weekends. Those luxuries are not yet to be given to you. You have to earn those luxuries. The average person takes those luxuries, but the average person is suffering with mental depression, anxiety, and in a job that they can't stand and getting micromanaged. Do you want to be that person? So look, if this resonated with you and you're thinking about quiet quitting or you're going through it right now, let me know in the comments. How are you doing it? What are you thinking of doing? What business do you want to build? Because I ask you again, do you want to design a life that you just wake up Monday to Monday loving what you do? Or do you want to be assigned one? And one day you lay on your deathbed at 68 years old and you look back, or 70, 75, 80 years old, and you look back and think, God, I could have done more. I could have done more, and I didn't. Food for thought. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do hit that thumbs button. Do subscribe if you haven't already. And again, let me know, are you quiet quitting or are you not? I certainly did, and now I'm filming a YouTube on a Friday afternoon talking to you guys and girls. Until next time, I appreciate you all being here. I'll see you all soon.
I find it so interesting that right now quiet quitting is getting a ton of buzz, and I want to share kind of my story of quitting and the time period that I quit and how it just feels a lot different now. I've been a YouTuber since 2011. My videos started doing really well when I started posting engineering content when I was at school, and then when I started posting day in the life working as a consultant content on YouTube. Which is pretty ironic that what started making me more money was me being relatable. And then at one point, I started spending a lot more time on YouTube and social media, and it just got a lot harder to manage, and I even started making like double my salary on social media than I was at my job, and I decided to quit. This was really nerve-wracking for me because, again, my whole content was about like being this relatable person, and I felt like by doing that, I might like lose my followers. Although my personal followers were very supportive, the backlash from just like the outside of social media was so big because a ton of other creators started quitting around the same time. I mean, I would get texts from people being like, I'm about to quit my job and I'm so scared about the reaction, like how did yours react? Because a lot of times people were just not nice about it, and it kind of felt like a lot of people were like, oh, I can't wait for influencing to die so that these girls can like make no money anymore. I don't, this isn't like a real job. And times have definitely changed because nowadays, I mean, people are looking at creators as an actual career. COVID honestly made the industry even bigger than before, which a lot of people weren't sure of. And a lot of people today are, empowered by quitting, and even people that aren't necessarily influencers are looking to create content online. They're looking for side hustles. They're doing a lot to ensure that they have that freedom in doing whatever they want and making money by doing it. While I'm really happy that people are more accepting towards different career paths and, different ways to make money, and you don't have to work that quote unquote normal job to necessarily like be relatable and make it, I also want to encourage people that quitting is not necessarily the most glamorous thing. You don't necessarily need to burn yourself out, but there are seasons when I think that working hard and working that corporate job may be necessary to some people. It definitely was for me. And social media makes it seem like anyone can quit their job and do whatever they want. But the reality is that a lot of people need a really financially stable job to pay their bills. Quitting is not always the answer, and people should never undervalue financial stability either. I recently quit a job. I'd love to know your thoughts on this and how it's been since you've quit.
The only reason workers are quiet quitting is because they can't afford loud quitting. They can't afford to live, they can't afford not to work, and oftentimes they have to suffer through the most toxic work environments and choose which type of bankruptcy they prefer, emotional or financial. Enough is enough. Employers, stop putting profits over people.
Have you heard about quiet quitting before?
I have. They don't like their jobs and they're trying to set a boundary. And so instead of going above and beyond for their job like they used to, they just decide to just do the bare minimum.
Right.
Instead of going above and beyond.
That's kind of, it feels like, flashing back to what we talked about in season 3 with overemployment.
Right.
It kind of feels like a different version of that, except you stay with your same job and you just do the minimum the whole time.
I almost feel like a lot of people are just not feeling appreciated at their job. I feel like anybody, when they first start, they go like 100%, right? And they'll continue going 100% if they're appreciated and rewarded for doing that. But you get to a point where you're kind of like sprinting and you're looking around and you're like, nobody cares if I sprint or jog. So why am I going to sprint?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm going to get the same pay, the same PTO, the same benefits if I work hard or if I do the bare minimum. So a lot of people are just realizing it and just doing the bare minimum.
Can't do this anymore. I'm quitting. Oh, that's unexpected. I'm sorry to see you go. When's your last day? Last day for what? Didn't you just say you were quitting? Yeah, I am. Quiet quitting. What does that mean? So, like, I don't really subscribe to this whole hustle till I die, climb the corporate ladder, work 100 hours a week so that I can get my 4% pay bump at the end of the year type of working lifestyle. Instead, I'm quiet quitting. I'm gonna come in and just do my job. So you're still gonna hand in your assignments. Yup, but not a day early, and I'm not doing anyone else's work. And you're still coming into the office? Yup, but I'm not coming in a second before 9, and I'm not staying a second past 5. Maybe I should look into this quiet quitting thing.
Guess what? It seems that quiet quitting is back on the agenda. Quiet quitting is where employees do the bare minimum in their job to get by. But this time, when we're talking about quiet quitting, it seems that HR are getting the blame. Quiet quitting is now not just about employees being a job's worth and doing the bare minimum because that's what they choose to do. It's now because of other reasons. More and more cases of quiet quitting are to do with burnout, lack of recognition, or that feeling of being undervalued. A Gallup survey has just found that only 32% of employees are engaged in their work. Only 32%. That means 68% of your workforce right now are likely to be disengaged. And that's a huge problem. The mistake that HR and management are making is they don't know how to fix this problem. It's not about free pizza on a Friday. From our experience, employees just want 3 things. These are meaningful work, fair pay, and a management that care. We see the companies that are focusing on these 3 things won't really go far wrong. Do you agree or disagree? Looking forward to your comments. Don't forget to follow for more.
So I called you in to discuss your work performance. You're not quite going above and beyond like you used to. Oh yeah, I'm quiet quitting. What is that? Essentially, I'm burnt out, so I'm just doing the bare minimum at work. Yikes. Can I ask why? One of the reasons is inflation. What does inflation have to do with you doing the minimum amount at work? Well, our company gave me a 2% annual raise, but inflation is at 9%, so that basically means I'm getting a pay cut based on purchasing power. Yeah, to be honest, many employees feel like their salary just isn't cutting it anymore. But I have a secret. I'm listening. Go follow Addison. She shares all the ways to make and save more money.
You guys, have you heard of this latest trend called silent firing? It's the employer's clapback to the old quiet quitting. Okay, so let's get into what silent firing actually is. Unlike traditional layoffs, companies are finding ways to push employees out without formally letting them go. So for instance, all the things that I've been talking about in terms of forced return to office and resulting in these sort of silent layoffs, where in fact, these strict policies like 5-day-a-week return to office, piling on unrealistic workloads and making it really frustrating so employees just quit on their own. That is what companies are doing to cut down on severance costs and avoid direct layoffs. Okay, so this Fast Company article was so awesome. It broke down all the data as well. So if you look at what Amazon had done, they've mandated 5-day-a-week in office, even though 73% of their workforce has expressed a desire to quit due to this policy. Amazon, one of the most data-driven companies out there, is fully aware that 65% of employers report increased productivity with remote work, while 95% say it improves retention. But they're still going forward with it, and it raises the question, is the goal to reduce headcount without saying so? So you can see this chart where headcount increases from 2020 to 2023-ish, and then from 2023 to now, it's on that downward trend. Okay, but here's the thing. Experts like this MIT economist suggest that only 5% of jobs are actually ready for automation by AI in the next decade. So the hype around AI replacing jobs is exaggerated, yet the workplace impact is real. Obviously, you see all these layoffs. So for a lot of these employees, it means disengagement, burnout, especially amongst Gen Z workers. And there was a Gallup poll that found 30% of employees aren't actively engaged in work. And among them, Gen Z and younger millennials, engagement has dropped 5% in the past year. So now here's the kicker. Disengagement is actually costing companies a staggering $8.8 trillion globally in lost productivity. So AI investments are skyrocketing, as you can see in this chart. On the people side, there's an equation of suffering. And companies that are ignoring employee well-being are essentially losing twice because the turnover and productivity loss. You can also see this chart where it says the job search is taking longer. So unemployed folks that were hired within 3 months back in 2022 was 51.8%. But you can see this precipitously dropping to such a lower percentage in 2024. Okay, so here's my hot take. Silent firing is risky for employers. I think AI roles are certainly transforming, and it's a reason to make people quit or kind of scare them to quit, but it's a really short-sighted approach. And I think for employees, if your role starts feeling unsustainable and workplace flexibility is, gone, you are probably going to reassess what your options are. And I just talked about in my previous post, people not opting to climb that corporate ladder because it's more stress, burnout, work overload, so on and so forth. So I think, we need to track these productivity trends based on return to office and all of that. And I think more and more studies are going to come out. But here's the takeaway. I think don't just sit silently, look at your career holistically. And if you feel like you're going to have the effects of this silent firing, you need to take control and plan your next move and just be ready. So I'm going to stay on top of the RTO mandates and these quiet layoffs, and I'm going to keep curating these lists for you guys so you are aware of what's really happening on the job market. So I hope you sign up for my newsletter. I hope that content is going to be interesting for you, and I'm going to give you some resources and tools in there as well. And I always kind of give you that fodder for you to understand what's really happening, and so you can have these discussions, in your meetings and in your teams. But look out for that. Sign up for my newsletter. It's going to get delivered every Monday at 7 a.m. And there's also exclusive job drops in there, so you don't want to miss those. I want to keep you empowered. Let's keep talking about the evolving job market, and all the links are in my bio. Thanks, everybody. This is your elite recruiter doing the research for you so you don't have to.
New week of quiet quitting. We are gonna make it happen. It's Monday. I can't believe that I am here another week. And you know what? We're gonna take the lunches. We're gonna take the breaks. We are gonna take our time, because you know what? There's no rush. There's no rush in this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, because you know why? What really matters to me is what I want to do, and all I want to do is tour. I want to be able to play shows all over the place with my band Nineside, and I should make a song about this. Yeah, to where like I go to work and then really I don't want to go to work, and then it's just kind of like, bye.
What do you think is the most lonely job?
Probably something like a data entry operator.
Maybe just being with a computer all day long or something like that. I guess the modern job.
Computerization, a wonderful thing, except for the folks who have to mind the machines.
I think as people spend more and more time feeling like driven dogs, if you will, that their schedule is determined, that there is no choice for them, when that sets in, then certainly loneliness, which is basically missing yourself, that's the essence of loneliness.
Loneliness isn't always romantic. It's often painful. It's tied to boredom, and in many jobs, experts are finding that both loneliness and boredom are becoming big problems. Some of the hardest hit are parking lot attendants, security guards, air traffic controllers, auctioneers, and doctors. It happens when we're not challenged, and when that sense of who we are gets lost. Some cope, some don't, and a growing number of workers are turning to alcohol and drugs as a solution. This is Bellwoods, a substance abuse rehab clinic. Patients end up here for many reasons, but some just couldn't find a way to cope on the job. The clinic's founder, Dr. Gordon Bell, tells us we're all suffering from future shock.
100 years ago, the lifestyle of the grandchild would be expected to be comparable to granddad's, so the grandfather could advise him. Now we're into a period where there's probably more changes in a year than there used in grandfather's time would be in a generation, that the traditional social situations are incapable of adapting rapidly enough.
Back in July, some dude posted this clip on TikTok.
I recently learned about this term called quiet quitting, where you're not outright quitting your job, but you're quitting the idea of going above and beyond. You're still performing your duties, but you're no longer subscribing to the hustle culture mentality that work has to be your life.
Okay, interesting. There you go there. Some thoughts on quiet quitting, the idea that you shouldn't do more than what is required from you at work. He posted it, and then, of course, life went on. Except it didn't! Cue articles about this scary, risky, insane new workplace trend, infiltrating Aussie offices, threatening productivity and morale and Year 12 and our way of life. What are you talking about? It did not stop there, alas.
Quiet quitting. Quiet quitting. Quiet quitting.
For a seemingly quiet trend, can you put that down? Thank you. Quiet quitting sure created a lot of noise. The media also spoke to the media about how this was made up by the media.
I think it's one of these nonsense terms that we come up with in the media, not we per se, but those other people in the media.
We sure do like sourcing our own pudding. But Tom Tilley is no silly Billy. A seconds-long thought bubble on TikTok does not a workplace trend make, my friends. Just ask the Bureau of Statistics, whose own figures show that in August, when quiet quitting headlines were everywhere, Aussies actually worked 14.5 million more hours than they had the month before. That's nearly 5% more than pre-pandemic levels. Also, people are taking less time off for holidays, and most are frequently working non-standard and extra hours. Yeah, rest assured, folks, we seem very overworked. So here's my hot tip. If you see the media hyping up a trend that doesn't really seem like a trend outside of the media hyping up that trend, quietly quit reading about it.